everybody, it's EK from EK Gorman Designs, and I am here with an extra special, super duper, really fun event going on called C.A.S.E. the Creator. A whole bunch of us over on the Facebook have gotten together and paired off and divided up into pairs to case each other's projects. And I have the absolute privilege of being paired with Janet Trieschman, and I know I'm saying that wrong, but Janet Trieschman. She's over at tryitLikeIt.com. I will put all of her lovely details in the little blurb below, so you too can go see her amazing works. But I found a video of hers on her YouTube channel where she's playing with stencils. It's a stencil she had cut herself, and she's pressing ink through the stencil, and I was so inspired I pulled out a leaf stencil myself just to absolutely try to replicate in a way her amazing project over on her both her YouTube and her blog page. I pulled out this stencil from Studiolight, which has got a really cool leaf pattern, and I pulled out some distress oxides as well as my blending brush and just started pressing from lightest to darkest the colors through. If you're not familiar with the term case, it is copy and, oh, I'm not going to get this right because I'm not as smart as I want to be. It is, I can do this. See, the memory in my head just doesn't work. Case is copy and share everything. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to be an absolute mimic of her project. I am trying to copy the feeling of her project and share the technique, basically, I learned with her. Now, I did not cut my own stencil because that is not in my wheelhouse. I'm very, very, very impressed by people who are capable of this skill. I am not one of them. That mainly because I probably don't have a Cricut and I'm refusing to get one. But I just love how these leaves came out by turning the stencil in 3 different ways. I think the background of what's going to become my card turned out really fun. I wanted the edges to blend just a smidgen more, so I took some of the darkest green color that I was using, the pine needles, and I blended just a hint of that color around the card, just so everything kind of focuses to the lightest part of the card in the middle. Now, this is the basic technique that I learned from Janet. I wanted to take it a step further and turn it into a card, and one of the things about Janet's project that I found really inspiring is it looked over like her second stencil project that she did on her video looks like a Turnabout card. The way she's turning her stencil ends up looking like a Concord and 9th Turnabout card. So I thought it'd be really fun if I pulled out actually a Concord and 9th Turnabout stamp and used it on my stenciling, just kind of as an homage to how I got inspired by Janet's project. So I pulled out this one with the little hearts because I thought the hearts were small enough that it wouldn't take away from the stencil work, but yet would add some visual interest on top of what is a cool background. And I decided to go ahead and use the same ink colors that I blended in through my stencil on the stamp itself, so that way I'm still pulling colors from the same family of greens. Now, I didn't use a square cut piece of paper like the Turnabout should be. I actually do this a lot. I don't go square, I go rectangular, and I let it just kind of float the way it ends up floating. And in this case, I think it worked out really well. None of the hearts seemed to overlap each other too much, and it worked out. So here's where you'll see the first big, like, oh, that doesn't match up the way it's supposed to. And it's okay that it doesn't. Experiment with your toys. Beep, beep, beep. Break away from the modern mold of how you're supposed to do this. Yeah, it's that simple. But I like how, like those, I don't know, I like how the hearts just didn't line up. For the last layer, the 4th stamp of the project, I went ahead and pulled out some black ink. I pulled out a little bit of VersaMark black ink just because it stamps so nicely. So that way, there actually is a little bit of a focal point to my finished card. I let the black hearts ground in my final project. The problem is, they're now floating in a space all on their own. Luckily, the stamp set has a set of 3 little hearts that I was able to pull off and hand stamp in a couple places around the card just to give the card some more uniformity. And while, yes, I was using a turnaround card, it doesn't because I don't do it right, it doesn't turn out the way it's supposed to. But it's okay because I actually prefer this. I really like how the card turned out. Now I needed just a simple, I didn't want a big like visual, I didn't want a big picture stamp or a big huge sentiment stamp. And there's actually a really sweet little sentiment right here on the stamp set. It's just thinking of you. And I thought it would be just kind of the perfect way to finish this card with a sweet little sentiment that could be used for any occasion. I like that this card can be just a hi, wanted to say hi card. It could actually be used as a sympathy card if you needed it to. It it's gonna it goes into that like almost anything you need it to do category of life. The edges of the card weren't grounded quite enough for me, and I knew I wasn't going to trim the card up and mat it anyway, so I did end up pulling a fourth shade of green out, the Lucky Charms, and just distressing the ends straight on from the ink pad. And it just gave that halo of color around the card that a matte would. The card also needed a little bling, just a smidgen of bling, just a bit. So I pulled out the Doodle's Paper Playground Sparkle Blend. It's one of their new released ones. It's called Dragon Glass. And I love it because all the sequins are either black or black with hints of green. And I thought, yeah, that's going to absolutely go perfectly with what I got going on here. So I pulled out a couple different stencils. I pulled out a couple different sequins, and I played around with where to put them and finalized it here. And I like that they almost blend in with the hearts until you look even closer at them. And there you go. There's my final project from today's C.A.S.E. the Creator. If you're not familiar with Janet, make sure you go over and check out all of her posts on both her blog or Instagram and her YouTube page. Thanks for tuning in here today. If you're new here, make sure you pop a little thumbs up so I know that you were here. And let me know in the comments below if you play with stencils like this. Until then, happy crafting.